than it is to go, shoot a segment of flying helicopters around the country. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it may be. It's like
that's fun though.
That's really fun.
Yeah, and again, I think of like, even from my perspective on why I did the podcast, I knew like, hey, I just want to begin to build the voice for my philosophy, right? And I immediately automated it, right? I got it to where like I hired the entire team and have only using it to be able to begin to create the voice, as long as it can limit my time and energy, and I can shoot them in bulk. And then all I want to do is break them out into a handful of different pieces of content that I can then spread across multiple platforms. That all that does is I'm on a 2 or 3 year build of just my voice as it relates to my philosophy, that then I'll monetize in the form of different types of content and the software that I create in the future. But I still like, everything I do has like a deep purpose, short term and long term, and is then tied back to time and energy. Because it's like, if I couldn't have got that podcast down into where I shoot 25-minute segments, like I would have quit doing it because it just took too much time and energy to actually do it. You know what I mean?
You know what astonished me about your podcast is that I had never come across it before.
Yeah.
It's
really
building
small.
with Rob, and I was surprised at how small it is. And I kind of laughed about your efficiency thing. You're like, is it illegal to have podcasts this short? 24, 25 minutes. But it was efficient, man. There's a lot of information in those, but again, just a couple thousand views. I feel like they should really be crushing it.
But you also have to look at, like, you guys are YouTube experts, and I'm not. There's not even like a part of me that's even concerned with the scale of it, right? Because it's the scale through LinkedIn, it's the scale through social media, right? Of these different things that go on sort of an ongoing basis, and it's a long-term play, And I'm working out. Because it's one of those things where it's like, it's a deeper philosophy that I want to find simplicity on the far side of complexity, so it's super easy to share and that it's understandable, so it can make a real impact on people that begin to follow it. But that requires me talking it out from just thinking about it, and then turning that talking into words and into structure that makes sense, that other people can actually apply it. And that in itself is this much more difficult process that I've been doing over the last year. So for me, when I think about, once I find, and I just keep, working on organizing all of that in a shareable format, and I'll change the entire thing when the book and the software all come out that I'm developing while I'm creating all of it. But it's like, then I want the scale.
Yeah.
Right. Then I'll invest in, like, okay, no, like, now you're going to invest and spend into it. And now, because really I only want to use
laying it out.
That's it. Like, when I eventually launch it and really want to build it, it's going to be a much more concise sort of point of view. For right now, it's just scatter shots of like different things that I'm kind of thinking about. And it's really just for scale across social media, TikTok, where it just reaches millions and millions of people through that format in a much more simpler sort of way that's cost effective, before I eventually get to releasing the book and the software and all that stuff over the next couple of years.
And is your software essentially, I don't know if everyone on here knows this, but Rob quantitatively, analyzes every single day of his life and how you feel in the morning, how you feel at night, and how you slept. Is that software going to allow people to do that?
Yeah, and look, really what I want it to be is life design through time design. Right? Like, it's like people, I think we look at time the wrong way. We look at time as like, schedule the important things, and then like, oh, I don't want to schedule everything, versus like, the time is all that you have, and ultimately getting to grips with how long you actually want to live, and then looking at sort of the stages and milestones of your existence, and beginning to plan your use of time, and then bring that all the way down to like, what would I do every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year in my perfect life? and using that as the marker to build you backwards towards what you're doing today, and how do you grow into your ideal use of time, because that would be your ideal way of living. That's really what that software will help you do.
Cool.
And then you can decide, do I want to do qualitative data and rate how I feel about my day? Do you want to interject your Aura ring and show what your sleep score was? And I think you will, because it'll begin to learn you and understand you and help you sort of shape and build your time in a way that allows you, again, to go from every moment of the day feeling joy.
I love it.
Right?
Because I want that joy. Can I get a beta version?
I'm going to get you a beta version.
I want that beta version, bro.
If I fell into this right now, I feel like I'd spend 8 hours a day trying to plan to be better at time. Like I would feel like I would be very bad at time.
I feel like it would take a year to really plan your days.
And again, I think that right there made me sad. And then her validating for you that made me even sadder. But that is in where I think the innovation has to occur. Right? I want you to be able to fill out, here's all these things that I love and want to do and wish I do, and then boom, it lays out the rhythm of your year for you. And then now you can begin to be adaptive and adjust and see what works and get better and better at understanding your time, because I do believe it's a skill set, because it took me 5 years before I tracked all the data every day, and then, when I finally committed to tracking all of my time, that's a bold undertaking, and it's a habit unto itself. And now it's like, I just love it so much. I love looking at the end of each month of look at that.
I feel like it's kind of like a secret tool that most people won't even think about.
Right.
I don't even thought about it. I hear you talk about it.
And look, you just keep getting older, and all these things keep coming up. Oh, I do want to do that. What should I do? We want to move. It's like, and life comes at you. And if you learn to control time, you understand the value of all your time, and then you see so much further. And then you understand the first and second order consequences when you commit to something that, no, this isn't going to this seems amazing, but this is going to take so much actual time to execute. Is it worth it from a time and energy standpoint? When you just begin to see the world through that lens, you automatically live with more intention and say no to a lot more things, because now you understand the effect that it has on the potential quality of your life and disrupting that quality.
The fact that you're sitting on this podcast right now talking about this makes me feel really good.
It took us a long time to get here.
It did. It
took us a long time to get here.
But thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope this
is awesome.
Brings quality of your day up.
And nothing brings me greater joy than talking about it.
You know what I'm saying?
And listen, I love even talking about now what did happen to me, because it's also about adaptability. It's depending on how you feel. I don't even though I have this rhythm of how things work, and there's certain things I can't change. Like today, since I shoot next door, I was just going to come over after I shot, but then Sterling tested positive for COVID, so we had to cancel today, and so to me, it's not yes, it changes the rhythm. We got to reschedule that day. I would rather shoot earlier in the day, that we changed it around. Then I can still take my kids to school and then pick up both my kids, where I wouldn't have been able to do it on the shoot day. So I just rearranged back into the time, back into the best use of the day. Now, of course, I got up at 4:30 and was in the gym and meditated and brain trained and had all my supplements.
What'd you have for breakfast?
And I had a shake and a bunch of supplements. It's kind of what I.
You got some anti-aging secrets, don't you?
I mean, look,
some stuff.
I don't know what I'm gonna do to keep me healthy on the cellular level for as long as possible, but I certainly take the supplements to do.
Because you want to live to 100.
Yeah, 114 and 54 days, right? It's want to experience 1 million hours of life, right? But I feel like I'm undershooting the mark.
Who thinks of this stuff?
I like that. Yeah. So 120 would be nice.
Is it hard for you to shut off this? What you're telling us right now, is it hard for you to shut that off? Because you got this beautiful family now.
Yeah.
And when you're playing with your kids, we have kids. Are you able to shut off?
Yeah.
Easy. For me, I feel like I would just be like numbers.
But here's the problem is you have to realize your mind, this is how your mind operates, right? There's 5 stages. You're either present in the middle and experiencing what's happening. You're either present future, where you're creating a better future, right? Or you're worrying about the future, right? So if you swing up to worry, right, like it sucks the energy out of you, and you're here. Then on the past, you're either rectifying something that has happened, and taking action, and something has happened, you're changing, or you're dwelling on the past. And for people like if you want to be present, your mind has to be balanced in a way that you're never swinging down to dwelling in the past or worrying about the future. You're either taking action of creating a better future or handling something that happened, or sitting in the present. And it's only when your mind swings and is where that disruption and inability to be present with your family is. But since I have so many systems in place and have automated so much of my life and designed my time in such a way that I live this balanced, harmonious existence, when I'm with my kids, I might dabble up into thinking about something I want to create a little bit, like if we're driving or whatever, but it allows me to be super present because my mind is so balanced. You know what I mean?
Clarity.
Versus, and it's everything. When you do everything with intention, then you're not, because think of where that like, I'm not thinking about the numbers. The numbers are just part of the output of the system I've created. And it's the drain that happens when you're constantly thinking, oh, what do I got to do about this thing I got to do? Oh, I got to get to that. Then you're rushing around like, oh, I got to get to this. Like, I hunt friction all day long in my life. And it's like every time there's friction, I create a solution or system to eliminate it, and so that I just continually stay in this sort of optimized state that isn't just a balanced life, but is a balanced mind.
Where does one start? Where does one start? You're listening right now. You're probably thrown back a bit. It sounds overwhelming. Obviously, you're not going to start where you're at.
They've turned off.
Whoever's listening right now.
Whoever's left.
Get up at 4:30 and start brain training.
That's it. That's it. Get up at 4 and start training your brain.
Just go. No, there's people listening right now that are like, this sounds amazing. I'm sitting here. This sounds amazing. I could get...
Yeah, pure happiness.
I could do so much better for myself and my family. Those listening, that they have this business idea, they have all these goals, but they're probably just listening to their phone. And when they stop listening to this podcast, they're scrolling Instagram, and we're sucked into that world. Where does one start? What's the first step?
Look, I think you trailed it a little bit deep, right? Because I think if it's like you listen to this, you get all motivated, and then you go back to doing nothing. It's the structure of the way your life operates, right? And you get stuck in these systems that are a lot of times not even your fault. Your parents raised you a certain way, the way you went to school, you're kind of raised in these frameworks and these structures. A lot of times for guys like us, like, oh, we're going to break out of this, like the way this whole thing is said, we're going to create our own destiny, you know what I mean, type of thing. But you're still left with the way you were raised in the construct, the way you understand money and time and all these different things that make up the way that your life operates. So it's a much more difficult thing, I think, to just like turn a switch on and start and go. I think it starts with awareness. And I think if you ever want to truly be happy, you've got to define what that is. You have to define what that is. You have to ask yourself, what would I do each day? What would make me happy? How much money do I need? What type of job do I want? Like, what would I do during the week? How much would I work? Who would I spend the time with? You've got to begin to map out that would be a happy life, because that is the start at the end mentality of like, man, if I could get there, that would be amazing. And then build your plan backwards and then grow and evolve into the person that you want to be, that you believe from right now is what you think would truly make you happy. Now, as you begin to march towards that, you're going to change and evolve, and what you begin to understand about yourself and the world around you is going to change and evolve, and that vision for what happiness is going to become more clear and more dynamic, which may determine the time that it may take you to get there, or the things that you actually need to do to get there. It's sort of this moving thing, but if you never define it, you never define where you're going to go. It's like, I'm going to take this trip to California from Maine without a map or having any idea what the freeway system is. I'm just going to start driving and I know I'm going to get there someday. That's like how most people approach it, rather than, I know it's exactly 2,300 miles and I have to take these 4 freeways. Like, I'll be there in 2 days and 6 hours. Like, then it's like, all right, here we go. Then maybe you have a flat tire. Maybe you run out of gas, like, whatever it may be, but you're always making progress towards the destination that you started with in the end. And it's just something that people, for some reason, and I was the same way all the way up to 40 almost. You know what I mean? I really didn't even discover this way of thinking till I was closer to your age. You know what I mean? And then I got better and better at it over time. And then I became a life and a version of myself I didn't even know was even possible to exist, because I couldn't even have envisioned being at this, the audacity, like that I would be like, that I'd be like the data guy and like, it's qualitative and insights. I track all my time. Like, the audacity of the 38-year-old being like, yeah, that's where you're headed in 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I would have wanted all the money I have now and my way of life and all the happiness, but never in a million years could I have imagined that this is what I would have expanded into. But that's what it was. It's knowledge of self, knowledge of reality, and really knowledge of the ability to create a better future on an ongoing basis. Pushes you into this limitless place you could have never imagined.
So when the 360 deal happened and you kind of had this realization, changed your way of thinking, how did you in that moment picture what your happiness would be today? And it's obviously, that's hard to decide that now it's today, calculating all those numbers. What did you predict back then, or did it just kind of?
Well, it was more global back then, right? It was like, I'm like, I want to be married and have kids. I don't live a lifestyle that's, going to lead me in that direction. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think it was like, I didn't understand money. I needed to learn money. I just always made a ton of money. I didn't understand money. I think I didn't even understand. I did all these companies, but why am I doing them? Right? I think it was these bigger questions that I had to ask myself. And it took me, I would say it probably took me, two almost 3 years before I had the full, like, sort of life plan, if you will, in place, that I could begin to build it. It wasn't like there was this discovery phase of needing to learn about myself and what are the things I even need to learn to be happy. But even back then, I wasn't saying, okay, what do I need to do to be happy? It was like, I need to change. And so I just started changing and tried to evaluate these things. And then what happened? Then the universe began to bring the tools to me, right? Then the Start at the End book shows up. And then, like, randomly, I had cleaned up my way of being, and I was like, the next, next girl that I date is my wife, and then, like, really, kept it super pure. And then my wife showed up, and then even trying to impress my wife, she was super into personal development and Tony Robbins and wanted to go see Tony Robbins. And randomly, Tony Robbins reached out to me. And I'm like, oh my God, this girl, like, and we had just started dating, and I'm like, oh man, it's going to be so good.
This is going to be easy.
It's going to be so good. As a matter of fact, Tony Robbins reached out to me. And like, because he had just put out his book, Money Master the Game. And so I really met with him to impress her. Only that book changed my life. Wow. Because it made me realize, God, look at all this. You've made millions, lost millions. Why do you even want money? How does money even work for you? You don't even understand money. And I think as I began the journey, And it's like that in all aspects of my existence. As I continue to evolve and identify what I need to learn and grow into, then the universe provides the answers and the people and the stuff that I need to learn along the way that has continued to grow and evolve me to the place that I am today.
Wow. And is there a story that along the lines of meeting your wife and starting to date that you used a helicopter to?
It's correct. It's correct.
You gotta tell us.
We love helicopters.
We're big helicopter guys.
Look, I don't trust helicopters.
We don't care about the love stories.
But it's more like an episode of The Bachelor than your adventure coptering. But it was, essentially we had just gone to text and. Because
graduated from the DMs.
Graduated from the DMs, got the number. I was like, she had this interview and talking about wanting to pet a tiger and swim with sharks. And I'm like, well, this is great. I could be a great life coach. I've been attacked by both. And so, and along the way, like then it's like she posts, we're texting back and forth and she posts this thing about her parents being in Dayton, Ohio. Her mom being in Dayton, Ohio, and I'm like, what do you got? What connection do you have from Dayton, Ohio? It's like, oh, my mother and brother lived there, and that's where my mom's from, right? So I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Like, all right, this is already my destiny here.
Yeah.
So now I'm like convinced. Haven't even spoke on the phone. I'm like, this is my wife.
Wow.
I haven't even this is straight off of photos and like. Two DMs and like 2 text messages. This is who I'm meant to spend
you
my
met
life.
her. You just DM.
Yeah, this is like, nothing. And so
slid in the DMs.
That's it. And then like for me to be so convinced, then I'm like connected to Dayton. This is my wife. So I've always had this like weird. Well, let me jump back. So it's like first date. Do you want to go out? Sure, what do you want to do? I looked on her Twitter and she was like talking about this dog kennel. There was a dog kennel that was they had to get rid of all the dogs or else they were going to be euthanized. And so, it was a few hours away and I thought it was like an hour away. So I was going to suggest to her for a first date that we go save some puppies. And so
this guy, man,
you know what I mean? And so, but I realized it was like 2.5 hours away. So as a joke, I'm like, what do you say we get a helicopter and go rescue some puppies? And like a half hour later, she's like, sure. And I'm like, what? So now I'm like, what? So I'm like,
staring at the phone, waiting.
No, I'm like, can somebody get us I got to get a helicopter. And believe it or not, my first date was probably like, 100 yards from here, like right across at the Van Nuys airport here. And so I picked her up. It was a straight episode of Catfish, right? We never spoke on the phone. She lived in like the hood, because she moved from a small town in Northern California and moved, got a cheap apartment, had no idea where she was. Rob Dyrdek pulls up in a Ferrari, you know what I'm saying, for date one, like full Catfish style, 458 Italia.
Nice. Red?
No, white and black.
White and black. Oh, of course. Classic.
But, it's not an episode of Catfish. She's real. I'm real. We're moving along. And then in this particular time in my life, I was convinced I was meant to marry somebody that was connected to Hawaii. And so as the drive over there, I'm like, don't even ask her about Hawaii. Her mom lives in Dayton, Ohio. Like, you guys are meant to be. Like, who cares about Hawaii? And so as soon as she gets in that Ferrari, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Do you have any connection to Hawaii? And so she's like, well, my grandparents live there and my sister lives there now. And I'm like, well, all right, we should get married.
That'll work.
Get married. And so as we took the helicopter ride.
You remember the type of helicopter?
Oh, man, I don't. But it was a bigger, more safe one.
4 seats in the back?
Yeah. I don't know, but because on our 3rd year anniversary, I rented another helicopter to go to Catalina.
Yeah.
Our 3rd year wedding anniversary, and that thing was sketchy. That was one of those you barely fit in there.
How many seats total are we talking?
2.5. You know what I mean? Like even the pilot was barely.
2 blades?
I don't even know if there was 2 blades.
It's just one blade.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen, babe, I already booked it. You know, it's here.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, that's really what it was. And then on that flight, she then told me a story midway on, flying over the Central Valley to go rescue these puppies. She then told the story that she was diagnosed with a rare blood disease at 10 and given 6 months to live. And that Make-A-Wish granted her wish, and her final wish was to swim with dolphins. So they flew her to Hawaii, where she swam with dolphins and was like on some like, I'm not going to let myself die. I'm going to beat this. And then they had like a special new treatment that they tried on her, and it put her into remission and worked.
Wow.
But then I'm like, okay, this is my wife.
That's the Hawaii.
This is my wife. Yeah.
Wow.
And for me, it's like, it's a beautiful story, but it's also like, her sort of commitment to personal development and evolving herself. I work really hard and I'm successful. What do I need to work on me for type of thing? And that sort of like, call it forever love, that now got me to see what forever felt like rather than what was next, on top of like this sort of like, developing yourself and growing, was this culmination that really, really started the evolution of changing who I am as a person and ultimately becoming the person that I am today. And also why, it's unwavering, my first line commitment to the quality of our relationship and our life over everything, because like she gave me this life that I have and this ability to realize my entire potential is also why there's no aspect of me that ever wavers on the continual optimization of our love and our family first sort of position of where the family sits in my way of being,
It's beautiful.
Yeah, you gotta go ahead.
I loved, I think it was her story yesterday, you asking her 1 to 10, like all of these questions.
Yeah.
And you guys do that
Yeah, you gotta
nightly
chill.
or weekly?
Well, no,
or?
what I do every day is I ask her how she feels 0 to 10.
Okay.
So that we have a conversation about how, and she calls it as liked. I know you love me, but do you like me? And so it's like, and I just continue to optimize around how she feels. And then the other thing that we do is then once a week, we write down what we celebrate, what we want to celebrate that week. And then on January 30th of every year, we then read them all to each other, right?
That's
so
so
you just have
amazing.
this like whole year of just celebrations, right? So it's this like, oh,
You're gonna put me in the doghouse, dude.
Yeah.
You got chill. Like every holiday, you got the house full of flowers and the balloons and
And the Ugg boots.
I'm like, I gotta go on her account and unfollow you so she
Yeah.
don't see this.
yeah,
Do,
yeah.
do
Life-
you
Yeah,
remember
I
the
never
Ugg
slow
boot
down.
story?
What?
The Ugg boot story?
No.
He hated Ugg boots.
Mm.
Wouldn't let me get them.
Oh,
And it was like the same thing. I was like, and look what he did for Valentine's Day. He got her one in every color.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
no, it was
Dang.
because
You're
I
always
was
looking
like,
out for
never.
us other guys.
Look,
Can't hide
made
money.
made the Uggs and the heart sign, and then put the roses in all the Uggs for her. She
Those aren't
still
cheap,
never
dude.
wore
That's
them.
nice.
She knew. She still never wore them.
She never wore them. That was all for the
But
gram.
yeah, like, look, like it's this continual optimization as it relates to, I send her an email every morning of everything I'm doing with a love quote every day. Like then we take the kids to school every morning. Then we have the conversation about how she felt the day before. And then if we miss a couple days for whatever reason, like then we, sit down and go through it. And then we have family syncs where we get the whole family organized with all the assistants. We have Wednesday night movie night, Thursday night pasta night, Thursday morning breakfast date. Like a therapist comes to the house every other week. Like on Sundays we do sushi. Like, we stay in this, continuous rhythm and deep communication on every single thing. So that we're just in this sort of continuous growth together and never feel disconnected in any way, shape, or form. And then, like, despite planning all that and keeping all of that, like, it's still depending on how she's feeling or what is happening in her like state that I'll cancel the rest of the day and take her out or do whatever it may be. It's like really trying to optimize our lives for the energy of us and our children. It is the beauty of having time mastered in such a way, and then having so much control of so many of the different parts of your universe, that you can really optimize for a relationship, especially because it's the most important one in your life. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Incredible,
Sorry.
bro.
Sorry.
You're killing me.
That's a rip.
She's
I mean,
sitting over here like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Screw it.
It in itself is a skill set.
I
though.
picked her up
It's
in a
skill
white
set.
work van.
Hey,
That's what I
you
picked.
got to start somewhere.
Yeah, we did. We started hard.
Yeah.
Still got her, bro.
But now you can take her in a
That's it.
helicopter to save some puppies.
Yep.
Yeah, you could. And you can take her in your own helicopter
Yeah.
You know
with your
the
own puppies.
the 458. Me asking if it was red. Bad call because
Yeah.
you know, going back, I think about all the time how in awe my friends and I were about your black on black Yukon.
Mm.
I mean that thing. That thing to my buddies and I when we were in high school was the
The dream
the
ride.
baddest vehicle you could
Mm.
have. And then you had the